Good morning. It's a pleasure to be here with you today. My name is Lunta Di La Paulo. I'm a CPA, and I'm thrilled to be here to share with you what you should be doing between now and the end of January if you are to get ready for the 2025 tax season. And before we start, I just want to take here a few seconds to ask you if you haven't done yet, please go online and share with other people who might benefit from this webinar. If you are a self-employed individual, an independent contractor, right? This is the type of life that you want to be part of, and you want to invite your friends, and other people who might be part of your network to also learn and be ready for this tax season. Because as you might know, last year on July 4th, a new tax law was passed, is in effect, and a lot of its provisions are already in effect and will be part of your 2025 tax return preparation. So it's really important that you are part of this, you are aware of this, and and we're gonna talk a lot more. Today, we're gonna be focusing on what you need to be doing, what you need to prepare for this tax season, what document you need to start getting ready if you don't have them yet, and how you can audit proof your tax returns before even filing your tax returns. Okay, that's very important for you to be mindful of, to be aware of. Otherwise, right, you might be filing a tax return for later the IRS or the Department of Revenue in your state to come back and say, hey, this deduction is not valid, or this deduction is not going to be accounted for. So I just want to encourage you one more time, right, before we can actually move forward, we can move forward, right? Please go ahead and share this information with other people who might actually benefit from this. And I'm gonna go ahead and share my screen here with us so that we can actually see what our journey together is going to look like. Okay. And again, for those of you just joining, okay, my name is Lunta Di La Paulo. I'm a CPA with Yeto Accounting and Tax PLLC. We've been helping business owners for the past 5 years and a little bit more. And we work with taxpayers, individuals, business owners, self-employed individuals across the US who have from the simple to the most complex tax situation, cleaning up their books, getting their accounting done correctly, and preparing them for exit as well. That's something we started doing for a little over 2 years now with business owners. So I want to take a quick second today just to talk about what the tax season prep journey would look like for you, what you need to get ready, and what you should be thinking about, right? As I said, to protect yourself, your tax returns, and so forth. So, first of all right, let's talk about the income portion. The income portion. Very often, what we see is somebody filed their tax return with a Schedule C on it, or a Schedule E for rental income, and later they come back and say, "Hey, I forgot this 1099. I forgot that amount. I forgot XYZ, and we need to amend the tax return." And of course, that cost them a little bit more money because that's double work for us when it should have been done correctly the first time. So the first thing you really need to focus your attention on is to make sure your income is accurate. And here's another reason why this is very important for you. Because if your income is not accurate, you can be penalized for underreporting your income, meaning you showed on your tax returns lower income than you actually were supposed to show. And when the IRS comes, they not only recalculate your tax returns to show the actual income that should have been reported there, they also will fine you for underreporting your income, right? So if you are not sure what was your income for 2025, this is the good time. It is a good time for you to sit and start organizing your information. Ideally, you should have a CPA, a bookkeeper, an accountant done this for you throughout 2025. If you didn't do this, this is the right time that you need to put together this information. So here's some of the information or documents you need to keep track of, right? Form 1099 NEC, right? Or 1099 miscellaneous, right? Folks who paid you, they might be required to send you this form. If you work for an app or platform, you should expect to get a form 1099K, right? Reporting your income by month and so forth. If you receive income from interest or dividend, right? These amounts should be coming from a form 1099 INT or 1099 DIV, right? And you need to make sure, right, especially for folks who are using Stripe, Square, PayPal, right? You want to be able to tie or to match what the bank account is showing for income entries of cash to the bank account to this report, because if there is any gaps, if there is any discrepancies, you might want to have a good explanation for why that might be the case. Okay, so make sure you're not forgetting things like any checks you might have received, tips, right? Any income paid to you on cash, right? And we see this a lot for things, cleaning, dry cleaning businesses, janitorial services, and other high cash intensive type of businesses. Some restaurants still, in my neighborhood, Hyde Park, we still have a business that only receives payment through cash. They do not accept any card. It's a very long-standing business, and that's how they run their show. Okay, so it's very important. If you receive gift cards or non-cash payment, it's also important to report this kind of income. If you had, for example, a marketplace payouts or incentives, right, you need to be reporting these kind of information. If you don't have an accounting system that is sophisticated, put it on a spreadsheet and begin tying up these balances, right? And if you don't want to do those kind of work, in our team we have people, right, who can do that for you. So number one, you gotta make sure your income is bulletproof, it's sound, and it makes sense, right? So if your income is based on, oh, I thought I made 20 grand, 100 grand, that's not keeping you safe. That's a recipe for disaster. That's the quickest way to to file a tax return that the IRS will scrutinize, and when they do, it's very much likely that you will not stand to show that you actually followed the rule. So number one, you want to make sure your income is reconciled. Reconciled between what or how, right? Your bank account, your income have to match the paperwork, the support, the details that represent that income from the bank account, especially if you had more than one bank account that receives payments from clients. You want to make sure, right, to keep track of that. And that's just one of these things that we talk to a lot of our clients when we set up their accounting system, right? We have one bank account that is set up to only receive income from clients. Okay, that's it. It doesn't do anything else. And when they receive the money, they can either pay a credit card or transfer cash to another account that only is used for payroll or certain significant expenses. Okay. So that's number one, that's reconciling your income. Number two, you gotta organize your deductible expenses. And I'm very purposeful here, deductible expenses, because not all expenses are deductible. I wish all of them were deductible, but that's not the case. You really need to make sure that your deduction are eligible to be claimed on the tax return, meaning you gotta have the proof, and those deductions have to meet the reasonableness test that the IRS tells us a given expense have to meet. It have to be ordinary. It have to be ordinary, and it must be useful or contributing to the business in a meaningful way. So things like advertisement, marketing, contractor professional fees, any supplies you paid for, phone and internet, right? It's important for a lot of us who are using our own cell phone, right, for the business as well, outside of other lines of we use for the business, right? We need to prorate the business that we use for personal and at the same time in the business, right? We kind of have to be to use a good judgment there to allocate those percentages. Vehicle, for those of you who still drive, right? You gotta determine whether you're gonna claim that vehicle as mileage or as actual expenses, softwares and subscription, insurance, right? Home office, right? A lot of us who are self-employed people who are running our own businesses, we have a place in our homes that we have dedicated and we use exclusively for running the business, right? So these kind of situations is also very important, right? You need to have good documentation, good support, right? Invoices, bank statements, notes for how this expense was used, especially on meals and travels, right? If you travel quite a bit for your business, right? If you are eating a lot out for the business, you really need to, to have good proof that shows that those meals were for business purposes. These trips you took were for business purposes. Okay, and one thing that I always tell my clients, and people often ask me, okay, Paulo. How do I decide that this business meal or travel is within the reason of the tax law, right? That's a conversation that is important to have. And here's a quick answer for you, my friends. A meal is reasonable within the context of your company. For example, we have clients who are high income professionals in the financial advisory space. They can take their clients or prospect to a high end restaurant because that's customary in their industry and based on the profile of clientele they have, right? There is a business context and economic sense for that. However, some of the other clients we have who are electricians, right, for very small businesses and shops, it might not be reasonable for them to take their clients to a high-end restaurant in town. Okay, so it's important for you to take into account some of these things. Okay, so that's expenses. Your expenses, to be deductible, you have to have proof. If you're claiming them on your tax returns, you better have proof to support that. Hey, these 1,200 that I'm writing here on the tax return for supplies, here's the invoices and the supports that shows that we used these supplies, or we purchased these supplies, and they were for business purposes. Okay, now number three, it's time, once you have your income, your expenses, right? And sadly, a lot of folks do this very late. They're only trying to do this right now, right? Which is self-employment taxes and federal income taxes, as well as state income taxes for those of us who live in states where there is income taxes, right? When you calculate your income, right, revenue or income less your expenses, then you have your net income or net loss. And if you have net income, that is subject to tax. And for those of you who are solo entrepreneurs who or have a limited liability company or solo LLC, single member LLC, you have to pay taxes for on your income at two levels, right? Self-employment taxes, Social Security and Medicare, and you have to pay federal income taxes, as well as in some cases state income taxes for a lot of us. Okay, and when are these taxes due? For a lot of us, right, we are behind. A lot of people who we serve are behind, right? They didn't send the quarterly taxes payment for April to May, which was due in June 15. They didn't send for Q3 between June and August 31st, which was due in September 15. And we just wrapped up 2025, right? The taxes for September 1st to December 31st is due on January 15th, right? 2026. So you gotta get your stuff together, my friend, and send those checks, or go to the IRS online payment and make these payments for you. But if you don't know how much you need to send to the IRS, we're here to help you. Give us a call, shoot us a text message. That's why we're here, to help you, to make your life easier. So it's important for you to get your taxes done. Now, number four, I want you to be mindful of this. There are a few things that will have massive impact on your tax returns for 2025 moving forward, right? Things like qualified business income deduction. There are rules around this. Retirement contributions. If you made any retirement contributions, right, those are going to impact your tax situation. If you had an HSA, a health insurance, as a self-employed person, these will have massive impact. If you purchased an equipment, any vehicle, any major asset, depreciation can be your lifesaver, right? And one thing that a lot of people actually often, right? Home office, right? Are you going to claim it as a simplified or actual approach? Either way, you'll get different results. So it's very important for you as a taxpayer to be mindful of that. And last but not least, right, I want to touch quickly on the home office deduction and vehicle and mileage, because there are two of the most unused tax deduction that you are entitled to claim, and many taxpayers just do not touch them. So it's very important that we touch on these two. Number one, home office deduction. You gotta use it regularly and exclusively for the business. It shouldn't be a space that you use for the business as well as a guest, a room for guests to come in. Right? That's not how it should be. Number two, it gotta be a principal place of business for you. What is a principal place of business? It's a place where you often do your admin work. You may receive clients or employees. It's a space that is designated as your principal place to do business. Then you will need to document the method that you choose, whether it's a simplified or an actual approach. You have to tabulate all of the expenses: rent, mortgage, utilities, interest, repairs, and so forth, right? And prorate them according to the method you choose. Okay. If you live in a 1,000 home house and 200 of that is used exclusively and regularly for the business, that's 20% of all of the expenses for the house will go. Now, I have to call your attention to something important. When you're claiming home office deduction, they are improvements that you make exclusively in the portion of the house that you use for your home office. Those expenses, you can claim 100% of them, and not only the percentage of the expenses for this space. Vehicle, you also have the mileage versus the actual expense. And to decide which one would work for you, it's really on a case by case situation. Okay. You gotta keep all of the expenses, all the receipts, all of the invoice, for toll, maintenance, repair, oil change, all of these expenses, you gotta, that's why it's so fundamental that you have a good accounting in place. Okay, you gotta separate personal commuting versus business commuting and other commuting. That's very important. Last but not least, here's some of the things you need to bring for your appointment with your CPA or tax person. Probably that guy, it's gonna be us, right? You gotta bring your ID that has a photo. If you have dependents, you also have to bring, for example, their social security cards, your own social security, your last years of tax returns, any IRS tax notices or state notices. Um, all the documents that support your income, okay? The invoices, the bank summaries, 1099s. If you had a decent bookkeeping, bring your profit and loss statement, your balance sheet, and credit card statements. All of your expenses, you need to bring them. Outside of the expenses report, vehicle mileages, mileage log, total, parking, all of the expenses. If you lease or loan the vehicle, you have to bring the appropriate documentation for that. And once you have all this information, especially if you pay taxes throughout the year, you need to bring the receipts for that so that the tax returns is prepared in a way that makes your life easier. And now, if you have all of this information and you want to work with our team, you can schedule an appointment. It's a free appointment here. It's typically 30 minutes long. You can scan the QR code or simply text the phone number below. Uh, it's gonna come straight to my team, and we're here to help you this tax season. Schedule your tax prep meeting ahead of time because things get really busy, really crazy, really fast. So make sure that you are reserving your booking. You're already getting into the line to have your taxes done. And I appreciate you taking the time to be in here with me today. I enjoyed preparing and delivering this presentation to you, and I hope you have a wonderful day. And if you have any question, we're your guy. Give us a call, text us, or simply scan the QR code to book your call. Okay, again, my name is Lunta Di La Paulo. I'm a CPA with Yetu Accounting and Tax PLLC, and we look forward to seeing you and speaking with you soon.